Alright, let's talk about Unity ads. Just want to clarify, I will not be covering AdMob in this tutorial. There will be another video for that. To get started, open up your Services tab over in the top right or wherever you have your editor set at. And if you do not have this tab, you can go to Window, and it should be in here, right at the top, Services. By default, you may already have analytics on or off, and you might already have ads on or off, depending how far you got. If you don't see this window, you have to actually log into your Unity dashboard, and you'll be prompted to do so on the screen instead of seeing these options. So if that's the case where you're not yet logged in, go ahead and do so and make an organization as well. I don't believe you have to fill out any of the mailing information or address information when making an organization. You should only have to give it a title to start. So once you're at this screen, go ahead and turn your ads on. If they're already on, just click anywhere in this box other than the off on button. And then you'll be brought over to this screen where if you have not turned them on yet, go ahead and click the toggle switch to do so. And you'll then see a couple options. You could ignore the advanced options for now. You have to have that checked if you want it to compile with the ad extension into your project. Scenarios where you might not do that is if you have a custom one, but I doubt that's going to be the case. So you can just ignore that for now. You have a few options with the test mode. If you have this checked, your compiled package that you do in this particular project will have test ads. That might be good if you want to run test ads on only one specific package. Maybe if you want to distribute it as an alpha package or beta for testing, you don't want your testers to click the ads. You can also set it so test ads are only received on specific devices, and that's done through the dashboard. I'll show you that in a moment. You can also make it so all packages, no matter whether they were compiled with this checked or not, will receive live or test ads, and I'll show you that as well. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to leave this checked. I don't want to accidentally click any live ads in a testing environment. That is greatly frowned upon, and if they find out, they being Unity services, you'll likely have your account suspended. So do not click live ads while testing your app. Let's go ahead and open up the dashboard by clicking the blue, well, teal, I suppose, go to dashboard button. You'll have a couple options here. I'm not going to click any of these just yet. This is if you want to set up ads for an iOS app, but we're going to be talking about Google, so we will be using this feature. However, in the meantime, I'm going to show you how to set up a test device. So up top, you'll see the name of your game, and just left, you'll see the organization. So I'm going to go ahead and click the organization right here. And you'll notice right away, there's an option for test devices. Go ahead and click that, and you'll see I already have something in here. So the Moto X 2014 is what I entered in this field. It can be whatever you want. This ID, however, has to be very specific, and it's unique to your device. This particular ID, the advertising identifier, can be found multiple ways. The easiest way on Android is to probably just download an app. The one I used is called Device Identifiers. It worked for me. There's a bunch of them out there though, so if you have problems with this one, just try a different one. What you're going to look for is once you install and run it, you'll see a Google advertising identifier. It's actually the top option in this app, and you want the raw value, and it actually has an option to copy it to your clipboard, and you can paste it to yourself in a message or whatever you like. Once you have that, you can give your device a name, paste in the identifier, and then register device, and that device will only receive test ads as long as it's in this list. You can always remove it at any time by clicking the X mark right here. I'm going to go back to my project and click the dashboard button one more time just to get back to this screen, and then I'm going to hit Google Play or Google Play Store. And here's where you can set up your ad types. The placement ID is the name or ID you will put in when calling an ad for which ad type you want to show. So if I wanted to show this particular rewarded video ad, I'd put in the rewarded video ID, and we'll talk about that later. And to the right you have the options to edit your ad settings. And if you set an ad as default, that's the ad that will show if you don't pass in a placement ID when calling the show ad code. And the enabled is pretty obvious. It's just if the ad is enabled or not. If you try to call an ad that is not enabled, it simply will not show. That might be a good idea if you perhaps change it so you want adult ads or remove adult ads, for example, and someone might be running an older version that calls the adult ad, for example, and you don't want that anymore. You could just simply disable the ad. The code will still try to call it, but the ad won't be shown. To make a new ad, you just have to click the Add New Placement option, and there are two ads available to you within Unity Ads. You have rewarded video and you have skippable video. Banner ads are not an option. If you want banner ads, you will have to use AdMob. The name is simply what you want to name your ad, as shown over here on the left. The placement ID is automatically generated based on the name, but remember the ID has to be unique. The mute audio option will mute the audio from the ad. Again, might be useful if you have a music game, but I really don't know why you'd want to do it any other reason. And the allow skip after is disabled on rewarded video because users are expected to watch the entire video. But on the skippable video, this has an option where the user may skip it after a specified amount of seconds. So I'm going to add another ad just to show you an example. And I'll set it to 8 seconds as a skippable video and then hit save. And that's all you have to do. It just shows up just like that. And just a heads up, I have not actually figured out how to delete ad placements yet. And also you can change the other settings, but you cannot seem to change the placement ID. So you may want to hold off on creating ads until I have that answer. And if I do figure it out, I will post it in the description of the video. Ad filtering is where you would control what type of ads are shown. Gambling, game ads, health products, whatever it may be, that's where you can change all those options in ad filtering. Settings is where you can force the ads to be orientated to your screen orientation. You can turn your ads on or off globally, so they will either work on all devices, publish, testing, whatever, or they won't. And you can also make it so that all devices receive test ads or all devices receive live ads. However, that does exclude the test devices. So if you still have a device in the test list and it's set to live ads, that device will still receive test ads. Let's go back to your project and begin working on the code. So we need to make a new C# script. I'm going to call it Ad Manager. Like any of my other instance classes, I always put manager at the end. So Ad Manager. Before I open it up, I am going to make a new game object in my hierarchy. I'm just going to also name it Ad Manager, and I will drop the script onto it. So now if I have my inspector tab selected as well Ad Manager, I'll see that the script is there. Go ahead and open up the script. I do not need the start or update methods, so I'll get rid of those. And I don't need collections or collections generic. I will be putting in using Unity Engine.advertisements. And if yours does not show up like mine, if it doesn't recognize the advertisements namespace, you may have upgraded your project to 5.6 from a lower version. If that's the case, you're not able to import the Unity Engine.advertisements, you will want to close out of Unity, head over to your project folder, open up the project settings folder, look for Unity Connect Settings.asset, delete the file, and then delete your library folder, which will be in your project folder. And then you can open Unity up again, where you'll have to reconfigure your ads but once you do so, you should be able to add the namespace. So moving on to the code, I'm going to add a public static add manager and name an instance. Get with a private set because I do not want it to be manipulated outside this class. Under awake, I'm going to set the instance to this version of the class. And like all my other videos, this is just so that I can access this class from anywhere in the application or game. So now I need a method which will allow me to show an ad, and I'm going to call it show unity add. So I have public void show unity add so that I can call it from anywhere, string placement ID, and bool enable callback. You may remember when I was showing you about the ad features in the dashboard, it had placement IDs. The two I had were video and rewarded video, as well as the example one I made. That would be the placement ID. So if I just wanted the video, I would pass in video in quotation marks like this. And the enable callback is an option where I'm going to have it so that if you pass it in as true, you can have a status on the ad, whether it was successfully shown, whether they watched the whole ad, various things like that. Before I fill out the show unity add method, I just need to set up an empty callback method. And I'm going to call it private void on add result. And the Unity API specifies that the callback should contain a show result variable, and I'm just going to call it result. So once you have this, go ahead and jump back up to your show unity add, and I'm going to put in the following. If advertisement with an exclamation point, so rather if not advertisement is ready, placement ID. Now I'm just going to put in a debug log for if the ad doesn't show. I'm going to log it as a warning. Say ad did not show, or now I'm going to put ad is not ready actually for, and I'm going to pass in the placement ID parameter. This can occur if you request an ad from Unity and maybe their servers are down, maybe the user doesn't have their internet enabled, or maybe they even have an ad blocker. That's when you might receive this message. And of course the user is not going to see this warning. This is just for your own sake. If the ad is ready, we'll want to show it. So we're going to do show options. I'm going to call it options equals new show options. And this is just a parameter that you can pass into showing an ad. And I'm going to do if enable callback. So if the callback is set to true, options.result callback equals on add result, which is the method we made just below. And then I'm going to use advertisement dot show placement ID and options. So what will happen is if you set enable callback to false, it will not add any options into the options variable, and it'll basically just place in an empty show options class. And it'll try to show the ad. If something goes wrong, it will fail silently. If you set enable callback to true, it will show the ad and it will display the result inside the on add result method. So moving down to on add result, I'm going to do switch result. And I'm going to make a case switch based off from what the result is. So I'll do case show result dot finished, and I'll just do debug.log ad was shown successfully and played throughout, meaning the ad played from the start to the end. And then you'll need to break out of that case. And let's do another one. Show result.skipped. You do debug.log. Ad was shown but skipped partially through. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. And then you have show result.failed. This one's a bit of a generic one. This can occur if maybe something crashed behind the scenes. Again, an ad blocker might cause this, maybe no internet. The same thing that could potentially cause the advertisement dot is ready to fail as well. But this is a bit of a generic catcher, and we don't necessarily know what happened. We just know that the ad didn't work. So I'm going to do debug log ad display failed, and of course break. Go ahead and save your script. The ad manager is basically complete at this point. There is one more thing we have to do. Well, I shouldn't say you have to do it, but I do recommend doing it. We're going to use what's called an if directive, which basically, to explain it very simply, the program checks if certain conditions are met, and if they are or not met, they will perform certain methods or allow certain code to execute. And we want to make sure that we're only attempting to load an advertisement and use the advertisement code if the platform we're on allows Unity ads to function. And that directive is called Unity_ads. There is no IntelliSense or autofill or anything like that for these, so make sure you're spelling them correctly. So right above Unity engine.advertisements, I'm going to do if Unity ads, meaning if the platform we're on supports Unity ads. And then right below it, I'm going to do end if. Notice it's together, there's no space. And don't forget the pound sign in front. So it will only use the Unity, it would only do using Unity engine.advertisements if the platform supports Unity ads. And we just have to do this in a couple more locations. We also need to put this inside our show Unity ad, except I'm not going to wrap the entire method. I'm just going to wrap the code inside it, because I still want this method to be called whether the platform supports it or not. I just don't want the code inside it to run. So again, just like before, if Unity ads, and I'm going to go to the bottom of the code bracket, end if. So this code right here will only execute if the platform supports Unity ads. And on add result will never be called if Unity ads is not supported. So we can actually wrap the entire method as well. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and save. So I'm going to go back to my project. I'm just going to show you an example. You don't necessarily have to follow along or anything. So when I hit play here, I have my stages button, where it is, notice a back button up here on the top left. And if I pick a stage, it sends me over to the level select, and there's also a button in the top left. So I'm going to, just for the sake of testing, I'm going to bind my show ad calls to these buttons. You'll have to choose where you want to put your ad code, of course, and what conditions must be met. But for the sake of testing, I would just bind it to a UI button or something. So I'm going to go into the code for these two options. So I have my stage select canvas, which is the first one I showed you, and I have the on click back, which occurs when you click the back button on the stage select option. So very easily, all I have to do is add manager.instance.showUnityAd, and like I said, I have a placement ID of video, and I don't want a callback for video because this is just going to be a just a simple ad that shows and goes away, and maybe maybe they click it, maybe they don't. It's not a rewarded video, so I don't really care what happens. So I'm not going to pass in a callback for that. I'm going to save that script, and I'm going to go over to my level select canvas script, where I also have the click back option. And on this one, I'm going to do add manager.instance.showUnityAd, and I'm going to use rewarded video. And I don't want to reward the user unless I know they watch the ad, so I'm going to enable callback as true. I will save that script as well. If you're still thinking of where to put it, go ahead and pause the video and do so now, and then when you're done, go ahead and resume. Going back to my editor, going to hit play, You notice in my console it says Unity Ads Editor initialize. It has a number, this is your game ID, and it'll say true or false. If true, it means it's using test ads. If it's false, it's not using test ads. I'm pretty sure if you set your test ads to false, for example, but you override them to always show test ads in the dashboard, this will still show false even though you have an override to always show test ads, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to go to stages, pick a random stage, and I'm at my level select screen where if I click this back button it should show a rewarded video. So I'm going to do so, and you just get this little demo screen. If this pops up, your ads are working. Obviously this is not an ad. If you were to compile this and push it to your game, you would actually see an ad. It's still going to be a test ad, but it would be live and it would show a video. So you can't really read this button, but it does close out of this screen. And watch my console in the bottom left. When I click this, that's when I get the callback. You can see it says ad was shown successfully and played throughout. Now I'm on my stage select screen, which should show an ad without a callback. So I clicked it, and I have my ad here. I'm assuming this is a skip button. Like I said, I can't really read that, but either one of these should close it. And when I do so, you notice I did not get a callback for it. And that's really it. You can compile your game to your phone and ads should be working. Now, there might be an instance where you want to know which ad is making the callback. Perhaps you have various reward video types. Unfortunately, Unity does not make this very easy to do. There's not really a super clean way to go about this, but I'll show you a quick workaround as to what you could possibly look into. So go ahead and jump back to the code and make sure you have Ad Manager open. I'm going to go up top to my variables, and I'm going to do private bool. I'm going to call it m_awaiting callback. By default it will be false. And I'm going to do a private string. I'm going to say m callback placement ID. So what we have here is if this is true, we're awaiting a callback response, and this would be the string of the placement ID which we're awaiting a callback for. And now I need to make some changes to my show Unity ad method. So I'm going to jump down here, and I'm going to wrap this if statement in brackets. And I'm just going to add another check. If am awaiting callback return, and then below that I'm going to do m callback placement ID equals placement ID. So what this is going to do is if you're trying to start a callback and a callback is already in progress, it's going to exit the method and this ad will not show. And the reason I'm doing this is I don't want things to potentially show out of order. I want to wait for one ad to receive its callback before processing any other ads. So this means if you try to show another callback ad and the first ad has not failed or had its results shown yet, the method will exit and the new ad will not be shown. And then once here, we're just setting the placement ID to a field which we can access anywhere in the class so that we can use it later. And we also need to do m awaiting callback equals true. So now on the ad result, we got a result, so we can actually do m awaiting callback equals false. And you can use the placement ID for whatever purpose you see fit here, but just to show you that it's working, I'm going to print out the callback placement ID. Save my script and go back to the editor. Hitting play, of course. I got the ad, and you can see that it printed out the callback placement ID and that it's showing that the ad was processed successfully. That's about it. You can go about that many different ways, but that's probably going to be the easiest way without really getting too involved.